Hey, I'm Mike. Welcome to the Wandering Minds podcast. Today, my special guest is the man, the myth, the legend, arguably, pound for pound, the strongest guy in the gym, Trevor Ryan, everybody. Trevor Ryan, woohoo!
Thank you for having me, Mike. It's an honor to be on the show.
Thank you. Yeah. I've been wanting to get you on for a long time. I know we discussed it quite a while ago. You're busy. I'm busy. Finally, our schedules have aligned. Thank God. Let's start with who you are. I want to know who you are. You're a local boy, right?
I'm a local man.
Okay.
Yeah,
man. I apologize. I call everybody that, but
it's not a bad term.
Yeah. Well, some people it may be, but it just flies out of my mouth.
Right.
So.
No worries. I grew up in Klamath Falls. Like if we're talking like little.
Okay.
And then from 6th grade, I moved up here, Thurston Middle School, Thurston High School. High school athlete. Then instantly went to Utah for baseball.
Okay.
And didn't like Utah. So then transferred back down here. I went to so many colleges. I went to Oregon, Lane, Linfield, Utah, all at first just because I didn't know where I want. I'm not going to lie. I was a little afraid when I was younger to be away.
Okay.
So figuring out what I want to do with the sports and D1 colleges said I was too small. I did some walk-ons at OSU and Oregon, and they were like, you got great numbers, but just too small. So all growing up, it was pure just athlete mode and school. And then as far as like what I started college is mechanical engineering, actually. So I went for that, switched that to physical therapy. Didn't actually end up finishing that because I didn't do well enough in some of the classes. I didn't like college. I wasn't a fan. And then I finished out at PSU for business.
Okay.
So that's pretty much that. And then when we get into the girthy stuff, once I started kind of getting of age and getting older and stuff, I'd always been in powerlifting and stuff, in bodybuilding kind of. Yeah. Started that route. And then I had some, I started partying. I didn't party till I was like 20 years old. And,
really?
Yeah.
Well, because you were in athlete mode, so that makes sense.
I was raised, Christian and very, kind of away from the world, growing up. And so I was a good kid, and I wasn't like a judgmental kid. It could come off that way, but I was pretty closed off to stuff. I was very I knew like what I didn't like. Yeah. And then as far as I got mad, with my faith and stuff, and I was like, well, I want to see what the world's like at like 20, right? So then I started partying and stuff, and not gonna lie, the raves were fun. I went to some raves and festivals, and they're fun, but you got to be smart about
playground, right?
Yeah, you got to be smart about like the decisions and the people, and understand there's a lot of pain in the world, and there's a lot of pain in those situations too. And so when you come from
and lessons learned,
100%. There's always lessons learned, especially from the fact that I came from a situation where I was kind of always like the vibrant one, or the one that would, a positive mindset. Like I didn't really have any, still to this day, it's very hard for me to like, if I get upset or sad about something, it's like very short-lived. Yeah. Very, very short-lived.
You seem very even-tempered.
Yeah. I used to not be.
Okay.
So, growing up, I was raised mainly from high school days with my mom and my sister. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of emotions being raised with two women. Yeah. And
I know that feeling.
Right. And so I really had to battle, getting really angry at times, because there was I didn't have a dad there at the time to be able to teach me how young men should act, and even Kelterd and my mom, I love her to death. My sister, I love her to death. We get along great now. Yeah. But there was a lot of emotion to where it just felt like I was getting ganged up on. And they even admitted to me that it was tough, and there was a lot of sensitivities, insecurities in growing up in there. And as a young man, I really I remember at 13, 14 years old, I would write to myself. I'd start reading because I was very sensitive, and I'd have friends like in high school and stuff be like, oh, they'd say a couple jokes, and I would just get really flustered. It would just, I just couldn't, I didn't know how to do it, take it, that kind of like digs like guys do, Yeah. And just being bros at the time, but I was a very sensitive person. Mm-hmm. And so over the years, in short, I've really tried to just be so much better about being in control of what I can control.
Yep.
So and that includes like, I don't care how a person approaches me, like whether they're screaming at me, whether they're, saying like super rude stuff, like that's all on them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just sit there and also I want to be the best version. And so sometimes, and I believe in life a lot of times is, if you always are looking for someone to have to approach you in the right ways, then you're always going to be let down. And I think I like hard love. Mm-hmm. So I want someone to be like, hey, get your shit together. Yeah. Like, I don't want coddling. Yeah. I don't like it.
It doesn't do any good.
No. And it just doesn't.
It's enabling.
100%. And for some people there is, you depending on the relationship, you do have to be aware of, if it's a close enough relationship, what they've kind of been to. Sure. But at some point you got to lay it out on the table and be like, look, like life's not going to present you with it just laid out, and if someone's being a dick to you, there's still something to learn from it. Mm-hmm. Like always, and so I think once I really grabbed that as a younger kid and was able to get better over time, now it's helped me to be the opposite of what I didn't want to be. Mm-hmm. As much as I love my parents and stuff, they showed me great traits, but they also showed me traits that I just didn't want to bring into my adulthood. Mm-hmm. And that's just every relationship, every father, parent, I mean, that's part
learning
of
curve.
Right. Yeah. 100%. So then I got into powerlifting at 25 about.
Okay. How old are you right now?
I'm 31.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was like 25, 26 going into it.
Yeah.
I actually had some interesting, like I went to jail for 90 days and stuff. Okay. For a couple DUIs, some unfortunate things that, most people would be like, oh, I've done that, but just didn't get caught. Just the way life is,
Most people don't. They, if you think about it, I don't mean to interrupt your flow, but what's the worst thing they have at bars? Fucking parking lots.
Oh,
they have a fucking parking lot.
Yeah.
They're just inviting people to drink and drive because that's exactly what they're going there to do.
Right.
And restaurants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People just don't get caught.
No. And I've had so many people be like, wow, you didn't learn your lesson. I'm like, didn't you just drink and drive yesterday?
Seriously. Yeah. How are you going to judge me?
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, certain people have different callings. You can get it. God calls people. And that's not anyone's better than others. It's just, this line is for you and this line is for you.
Yeah.
And some people can get away with things and some people can't.
Yeah. And, well, it's funny that when you get that caught, all of a sudden you get stigmatized by it. It's like, fuck, really? Really? I just saw you at the fucking, the tailgate party right there.
Yeah. No. And then once you're on paper, like for people who don't know about being on paper, it's like once you get in the system, I mean, they look at you like you're a number. And it's like, before, without going into too much detail about that, it's they expect you to be a good citizen when you get out and stuff, but they really try to take away as much from you as possible. Yeah. And then if you can't, you have to go above and beyond in that too. So if you only knew crime before, you're going to only know crime going out. Yeah. So that's one of the things about America that sucks in that regard.
There's no rehabilitation.
No. And so anyways, before I go into too many tangents.
That's all good.
Yeah, so went to that. Then, first thing when I got out of jail was like, I need to get into fitness again because that's always been a part of my life. Yeah, my dad took me to the gym and that's also another great topic as far as gym and family and starting young. But so I got back in the gym back when Cordell was there, you know, and so they were like, oh, you should start powerlifting, and I was like, I'll think about it, and I needed something to compete again. So I was like, well, can I, you can compete in this and stuff? And they were like, oh yeah, you can go after it. And so I was like, all right. So started powerlifting, got my first numbers up, which were all much, much lower. My bench was probably the only one that was somewhat decent. Yeah. It was like 275 for starting back then. Wow. But, squat was like 330. Yeah. And my deadlift was like 350 or something like that. So I just started doing that and falling in love with it.
And for all of you who don't know, those are small numbers for him.
Well, and I don't mean to put numbers up.
No. I'm just saying because those are good numbers for a lot of people.
You and me know, like
I really know.
We've known each other, I think, for most of even my journey in powerlifting. We met at a meet.
Yeah.
Yep. And I got into powerlifting, and that's really been my life. I mean, as far as career goes, I was trading it. I still trade in the financial markets for an exchange trader. That's kind of taken a little bit of a slow push just so I can, I kind of kept this under wraps, but I graduated from software engineering not too long ago.
Hell yeah.
So I've been pushing that. Thank you. That's been probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Really?
As far as like learning something, when you get older, you realize time is more precious. And so you want to just be good as fast as you can at something. And software engineering is something I wish I would have started when I was like, even if I would have been 25 and started it.
Yeah.
But it's fun and I love it. It's definitely not for everybody.
Yeah.
It's a great career. And so I do that. And I have
what exactly do you do? What does that include?
Software engineer or developer, so you'd speak. Well, it can range. So there's front end, back end, and back end refers to if you're on a website and like say you're on Instagram, for example.
Yeah.
And you're typing in data and you're saving all that data. The back end handles all that stuff and all the transfers between like live interactions with people and making sure like nothing you really see but everything you don't see is working really smoothly.
Yeah. So there's no glitches, nothing like that.
And then there's the front end aspect, which is obviously the aesthetics and all that stuff. And then there's a full stack developer, which is all of that.
Okay.
There's much more to it. So like machine learning, AI, which is also part of software development, and that encompasses like Netflix knowing your recent searches and the algorithms, and so like there's so many different.
So it's
routes.
code.
Yeah,
is it code?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm coding. I'm coding like stupid amounts.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's funny because when I first went to college, I wanted to go for mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
And I loved Legos and I loved projects and putting and figuring things out. I've always been a problem solver.
Yeah.
And had I listened to that or just known a little bit more, maybe I would have started then. But I didn't know, and I loved fitness, and so I went to PT and didn't want to. Found out the career life of a physical therapist was not really what I wanted to do. And so I'm working on that like big time. And lifting, we got some big meets coming up, and that's currently just what I'm my pup, but
of course. And a snake or not a snake,
of a Nile monitor.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah, she's like 4.5 feet long.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang. What does that thing eat?
Yeah.
Rats? It probably could, right?
Yeah,
it probably could.
She eats anything, dude. Like, so frozen rats. I don't feed her live just because, like, sometimes I've had animals get bit by them and get infected and stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty gnarly, though, like, when it's live feeding. But you could literally get a tag for, like, roadkill for monitors.
Oh.
And pick up roadkill, chop it up, freeze it, and feed it to them.
Wow.
So, like, if I found, like, a dead... Like,
deer or anything.
I mean, that or a squirrel even, or a cat.
Wow.
And instead of it being to waste, if it's only been a day or two, they eat in the wild. Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, they're
like
predators.
Yeah. They're gnarly.
So would I'm just wondering, because as soon as you said that, I was thinking, okay, well, if you start giving it a taste for cat or dog,
would it try to...
Would it want... you know what I mean?
They're smart. So now monitors are, I think, the smartest lizards up there. Like, they're called... I forgot the scientific names, like Varanosaurus or something like that. And they're... the monitor species is the smartest of all the lizards. And, like, she's, like, potty trained. Like, she only goes to the bathroom in one area of her cage.
Wow.
And it's got a different type of dirt.
Yeah.
And she like knows how to come out when I wake up. She like wakes up, they bask and stuff, and she like just chills. I mean, they're super smart. So I mean, as far as if I started feeding her cat, would she go eat a cat? If a cat was small enough, she would definitely try to eat it. And it wouldn't matter if I was feeding it a cat or not.
Yeah.
She's like, I want to eat that. She's a
predator.
Thing. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a size thing. Just like if a baby cat was the size of a tiger, would it eat you? I was like, I think so.
Yeah.
Like, I think they would.
Absolutely.
House cats are no joke.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Wow. So I remember I saw you at Jerry's one time and you were buying some stuff to build the cage or make it bigger or something like that.
Yeah. So she's got an 8x4 cage.
Wow.
Right now.
Okay.
And I've had her, she was like this big. And now she's, huge. And I can't pick her up unless I'm wearing like a sweatshirt because her claws, they just crawl on you and they'll just slice you open.
Yeah.
So, and her name's Broly.
Broly? Yeah. So
nice. For all you DBZ fans out there. So she's in a 4x8. She won't need much. She comes out like every day. I just let her out in the room. She just chills. She'll go sit up on the window. And I want to get a leash for her because I want to take her outside. But I think she's gonna freak out. But she'd learn.
You could probably start slow, right?
She's like 3 years old.
Is it something that you would have to worry about her nipping on you at all?
For
just biting you or ever seeing you as dinner?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. I'm luckily I'm big enough that I could
Yeah,
do
you handle business.
But
Yeah.
She did the first time she ever crawled, like when she was bigger and crawled on my back, she did bite my ear because I think she thought it was like a piece of food, but she let go immediately.
Oh, okay.
But like they have like 80 or 90, I think, serrated like teeth that just like no
probably
joke. Like she bit my ear and it just
sliced
like
it.
someone took a needle,
Really,
and, like poked it like in,
just like that.
Yeah, it just started bleeding down the
Wow.
side. So, but I didn't. You don't want to rip because it'll just shred your ear off. So luckily she let go. But yeah, no, they're so smart. They kind of companion-y. Like she gets excited. You can tell like she wants to come out whenever I'm there. Like you could say a lizard gets excited. Yeah. But yeah, she's cool.
I'm betting all animals are like that.
I think so to an extent. Yeah. I mean, I've always loved animals. I was that kid with like the what's the binder where you could order like the animal like papers to go in it. When I was a kid, I had like 4 books of just like stacks. But yeah, nice. I definitely after getting Goku and everything, he's my dog. If you don't know, after that I've like I think majority of animals, if not all, have some sense of like adornment and connection for sure.
I mean, you can train ravens, wild ravens.
Yeah, birds are crows. Crazy. I'm bad. I want like any animal that's smart. Or any somewhat animal. Even I want it. Yeah. Like I would love to have like an owl.
that would be cool, man.
There's this ghost owl that like has it's called like the Halloween owl or something, and it's got a mouth that opens like that big, and it's got giant black eyes.
Are you allowed to have owls?
I think some states no, but some states yeah. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So tell me, you said you grew up in faith and you kind of got mad at your faith. Why?
Yeah. Well, because I was raised, so here's the thing, there's religion and there's faith.
Yeah.
And religion is you do this, I get that. Like it's rules, right? Yeah. And I'm not for that. I've never been for that. And that's why people, first of all, do get mad. And when you're young, I was 19. I had been playing baseball and I'd been really praying a lot that he would help me get out of my head in the sport because I just had a problem with failing. Yeah. I didn't want to make a mistake. I didn't want to let my teammates down. And I just got no better at it. I got no, and I didn't expect, it to get solved just by praying, but I was hoping that there would be like an awakening or I'd figure something out. And my dad wasn't there. Now that I realize it, that's kind of where a dad steps in. Yeah. Like in that when his son is in his head. I mean, when you're young, you don't know, right? Yeah. And so I got mad at him because I was like, you know what? I've been praying and praying and praying. And I'm not seeing anything on my timing. Because I wanted it on my timing, right? And I wanted my lesson learned when I wanted to learn the lesson. Yeah. And so that was why I got mad. I was like, you know what? I have no idea what this other realm, this world is like. And I never partied. I just stayed home. And so that's why I got frustrated. And I was like, I just don't really want anything to do with you right now. Like, you're cool. Like, I'm not like denouncing you. I would never do that. But like, I'm going to go do my own thing. And, that was it. Yeah. I was young. And
do you think that was the blessing?
I think that you can't learn for sure unless you get in turmoils with anybody in your life a little bit. Confrontation is absolutely needed. Yeah. And I would call it a blessing for sure. Yeah. So I often say this and it's been quoted many times. You don't know beauty until you see ugly. Yeah. You can't learn the lesson until you actually live through the adversity of life. Yeah. And I think that's the difference between a lot of people's this idea of faith and religion. I'm very spiritual, so I'm right on the same thing with you. I'm very spiritual. I've never liked dogma. I've never liked the structure of religion with the. I believe in free will. Yeah, I believe we have to learn lessons. The aspect of religion that I do believe in, and I believe more firmly in as of late, is. I don't believe this idea, fear God. That's not my thought on it. But it is fear your own consequences, fear your own karma, because what you do will come back. Right. And it is the same as fear God. It is. You know what I mean? I was literally just about to say that. I think it's a respectful fear. Absolutely. And I think that the problem with society right now is people don't give a shit about that. What are your thoughts on that? And I know that we had a little discussion on where we were going to go with this, but society today, for me,
looks just like Sodom and Gomorrah. Seriously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just the way that everybody, and you mentioned it earlier about the home without a father.
Right. Yeah.
Especially for boys and girls. But since we're men,
Right.
we can understand that, because I too was raised by women, and I understand. I appreciate everything my mom did. I appreciate everything my sisters did. I love them. They did everything they possibly could.
Right.
But there's things that they can't even possibly know because they're not male. Just like I can't possibly know what it's like for a girl to go through whatever she's going through. Talk about that. Talk about the importance of the core family, the dynamic.
Yeah, the nuclear family.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think in today's age, we think the self is, well, I shouldn't say we, but I would say people have this ideology that the self is healing and that the self is self-serving, and that like if you just go find yourself alone, you will be at more peace.
Yep.
And I think there are aspects of the self that you do have to get comfortable with. For example, in today's world, nobody likes being alone. Nobody, and the only way that you can come to a lot of these hard truths is when you have nothing to lose, which comes from being alone.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a problem with today's world is, when we speak about everybody not wanting to maybe, because it all comes down, in my opinion, to, well, for one, like when you do get afraid, you start creating veils. You start creating these excuses or these reasons to keep yourself safe.
Justifying.
Right, justify. And it's all out of safety.
Yeah.
We are made to stay alive, to protect ourselves, whether that's emotionally or physically. And, unfortunately, if you are raised you have a bad walk with faith early on, or religion, which I know a lot of people I've talked to, they're like, oh, this burnt me the wrong way. The church hurt me, which is very common. And I've even been to churches that were just ridiculous.
Yeah.
You'll like always have an inclination to understand, like, I want to be like believe, but like, I'm also kind of afraid, cause I don't want to get burnt. And like, I don't know what to believe. And in the world, when you don't know what to believe, it's very dangerous sometimes too, because then you will go to what maybe sounds nice, and the devil or the enemy or darkness can come in whatever ways when he knows you're vulnerable. If you got something worth that you're going to do with your life that God has planned for you, you best believe that devil's after you.
Oh yeah.
There's no devil at your door if you're not doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in today's world, like, it's common, you talk about Sodom and Gomorrah, where good will be looked at as bad and evil will be looked at as good. We're definitely living in situations like that in today's world, and it's inevitable. Yeah. And I think that if you were to say, like, what is, like, my opinion of the root cause of it, I think it's, no God, no faith in the family, and not believing in, like, nuclear status of what is represented by a healthy doctrine and family. Yeah. If you don't have a strong man and a strong woman, and here's the thing, like, that gets taken out of context so much in today's world. Much. Like, a strong woman doesn't mean, like, necessarily like I'm a boss bitch in like manly ways. Yeah. That's not, like, and at the end of the day, excuse me, a woman, I want a woman that hustles. Like, I want a woman that does her own thing and grinds and knows what it is like you were saying, like, you got to go through pain to know how to appreciate. Yeah. And I want a woman who's been through some pain. Yeah. Because I've been through some stuff, right? But at the end of the day, a woman is a nurturer, and she's a multiplier. So, like, a woman, if you give her something, she's going to make it better. Yeah. And
including you.
Yeah, exactly.
You and I.
Exactly. So I can't be with a woman, and a woman can't be with me if we're not fulfilling, like, our full roles. Yeah. And society doesn't like to believe in roles because there's pride. There's so much pride in today's world about an ego and selfishness and thinking, like, self me, self me, self me. Yeah. And then it gets tainted. Like, there's so many different avenues in today's world that, like, twist it to this. That's why me and you watch certain things and we're like, dude, what? Where did that even come from? Yeah. But it all stems from a pain point, a childhood pain point, insecure family, broken up family, and then no accountability. Lack of masculinity, 100%, and a lack of women that, and I'm not saying this to, like, pry, because both sides, lack of men need to stand up, and women need to admit to the fact that like, yo, if you had a strong man that like came home to you and you were a stay-at-home mom, but you still had your own side hustle and business, do what you want, like, but your man like loved you and showed you affection, like, it's hard for me not to believe that majority of women absolutely crave that safety net, because that's what men are for. Men are there for that safety. Right. So it's like, you know, some people don't want to agree with that, but you know, at the same time, like, there's a lot of things that you might not think you want to agree with if you're in an unstable mindset in the beginning. Or you just, it's crazy. Some people have veils over that they don't, but can't look deeper to see I'm creating my own because of my insecurities.
Well, and a big indicator of that would be the fact of how angry a person would get just at the thought of that. That right there, if you're taking what I said personally, it's probably true.
Well, that's the other thing.
You know what I mean?
That's a great point.
It's probably fucking true.
Yeah, 100%. And how you react to anything is exactly, that's a great point. Like, if you're feeling, there's times when your spirit gets upset that you should say, okay, I've digested this information. I don't like it. It's not for me. But then there's other times when your spirit gets upset and you're like, oh, I need to change something. And discernment is not in this planet right now. Like, people cannot discern 100%. Anything. And that's also because they don't want to.
Do you think it's because they don't self-analyze?
They can't, because they don't know how to, because they're so angry, they're so sad, they're so pent up, and
they're
afraid of what they're going to find.
Failure. They're using that as anger. They're using this as explosive. So they're not even feeling or understanding that this is the time to look inside.
I mean, opportunity, the COVID, 2-year thing was a perfect example, a perfect time for everybody to self-evaluate. But the problem was people didn't know how to take being alone. So it made a lot of people, suicide went up. Abuse went up. Because there's no actual peace being alone. And I think I'll probably keep hammering that, because I think, like, if you can be alone and in your head and handle that demon, then you can handle, there's nothing you don't want to unbury. The moment you realize, like, I'm keeping myself, if everyone's preaching, I want to help the world, I want to help all these people, but you can't unbury, like, your issues because you just don't want to, then you'll never be able to give your authentic self to people. Absolutely. You can't truly love somebody if you can't even love yourself. And I think you raised a really, really good point in being alone, because that's when people are forced. Forced 100%. Inside. And people did. You're right. People didn't take that opportunity. They actually went the opposite direction. They go, actually, know what? I want to go back to my 9 to 5. No offense to 9 to 5s, but I want to go back to, building someone else's dream. And that in itself is crazy to me. And I'm a full believer in, like, build someone else's dream, but on the side also work on yours, and then when you can do that full time.
Well, you got to do what you got to do.
Do what you got to do. But I mean, there's so many routes with today's world that.
Well, so many people are so submissive when it comes to that. They're just ready, and I think it's apathy. They look at life like, whatever, just whatever. I'm just gonna do this because that's what I'm meant to do. And again, if you self-analyze, you'd realize you have so much potential. I truly believe people have so much potential that they just don't even understand that it's there.
I believe everybody. That's a good point. I was actually thinking about this the other day. That everybody is called to greatness. Everybody's greatness just looks different. And everybody. And the thing is what you said earlier is a good point. Just a little bit. You said, people look at, like, the picture and then they go, nah, that's not for me. And it's because they realize how much work. And so then they give themselves an excuse. Like, that's the reason my post the other day, I posted, like, not everybody's chosen, but God has a calling for everybody, but not everybody's chosen. Because, like, the work you have to do, especially as you get older, like when I switched to software engineering and knowing how long it took me to be good at Forex or lifting, I'm like, dude, this is going to be like a 5-year grind minimum until I'm, like, really, because, mastery is either, what is it, 10,000 hours or 50,000 hours or something. But if you look at it that and be like, oh, this is a long time, this is a lot of, like, then that's just the wrong way to look at it. And that just shows like I'm instantly always taking opportunities away because my instant fear reactions always, it's got too much power over me.
Yep.
And then that's when you just got to work on, okay, like my fight or flight is actually more so in control than I think.
Yeah.
Because that is a real thing. And just like anything, you got to turn that off and be like, okay, well, I'm going to start small then. Like when I work with clients and they look at all this and they see the big picture and they want 40 pounds to lose or they want to be deadlifting 700 pounds.
Yep.
I'm like, dude, no, just let's start
right
here.
here. Yeah.
Take small pictures to look at. Don't you have the big goal.
Yeah.
But don't always look at that every day.
Right.
Because you'll get let down every day.
Yeah.
And so that it's the same principles apply to everything in life.
Oh, yeah.
Every single thing that in life.
Yeah.
And if you have a reaction to something that's fear-based, you know that's the wrong reaction. And you have to be able to, like, if you don't train yourself to feel that, you will never make the adjustments.
Yeah.
And that's the first stage is take every thought captive.
Yep.
And every feeling captive. Know where it's stemming from.
Understand it.
And how is it being, like, portrayed inside myself? Because I'm going to portray that outwardly, too.
Yeah.
That was another thing that I learned is people who judge you. Like I've had people say, like when I've gone to like get-togethers and stuff, like I don't like small talk.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm having a couple beers and stuff, I'll ask someone how they're doing and they'll tell me something deep and I'm like, keep going with that, you know?
Yeah.
Some people I've heard, I had someone say like, oh, that he sounded preachy when he was over here or something, or he sounded, and I was like, well, however they were interpreting it, maybe.
Yeah.
But people are gonna, if you're not used to someone who doesn't like small talk and then all he reads is philosophical books, you know, and sometimes, you know, especially certain situations, it's better to listen more so. You know, but I'm passionate about helping people, you know.
Hell yeah.
And if someone brings up a point that I've had experience with, I try to do my best to listen, but if they ask for advice, then
you're going to give it. Well, and the thing,
I'll give my best advice I can.
And if you have somebody that says it sounds like he's preachy, that's probably the person that needed to hear it the most. You know what I mean?
That's exactly my point, is people will only say out of their interpretation.
Yeah.
And that's a very valid point. By the way, that cup is so sick.
It's dope, huh?
Yeah, that's so sick. Fitting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know if I answered your question. I mean, there's so many
it was
things
good.
with
I
the
mean,
world.
and the thing is you answered it the way that needed to be answered. And I love when you talk about big picture, because I'm a big picture person too. I live today, but I have plans for daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, 5-year, 10-year. But I focus right now. I'm here right now. But I also live impatiently. And I say this all the time, because if you don't live impatiently, you come up behind the winner. Right?
Yeah.
So you have to live impatiently.
So instead, he doesn't win this race.
No.
Not always.
Not always. And but the thing is you have to start the fucking race.
Right.
If you look at the big picture and you automatically don't start the race, you just put it off, procrastinate, that gets you nowhere.
Yeah.
So I do live impatiently when it comes to, I started this, boom, off to the races. There was no looking back for me. I live impatiently. Everything needs to be done. But that means starting.
You also don't worry about the outcome sometimes.
No.
And
no,
see,
it's all learning curve.
But that's
all
also
learning curve.
Genuine. See, so many people are like, this is another good point. Everybody wants to be the star of the show.
Yeah.
And if you are always chasing that, then a lot of times you never find what you love, because you're chasing greed. You're chasing, you're getting,
absolutely.
It's the same thing. So that trait right there is a rare trait, even as we get older, that's fun. I mean, this podcast is amazing. It's super cool that you've been doing this.
Thank you.
And shout out Wandering Podcast and the crew. But yeah, I mean, that's just that right there is what the younger generation needs. And you've had that. I don't know have you always been like that, or did you develop a attack mindset like that? Like, oh, I want to do this, I'm going to do that. Or were you afraid when you were younger? Or what was that about?
When I was younger, I think I was afraid. Because I like you, I had these blocks up that I didn't know how capable I was until I was forced into capability. Yes. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like you don't, and I did a couple years in prison, so I understand the being in jail, having that hurdle to leap out of. But when I get my mind set on something, it's done. Yeah. It's done. It's as good as accomplished.
Yeah.
So I said this before, and I think it may have come across. I'm not a dreamer. I am a dreamer. Right. But I'm a dream catcher. There's a difference between people that just sit and dream all day and fantasize about this. Nah, get that shit. So I'm a doer, but I'm an accomplisher, but I'm also a motivator. Yeah. You know what I mean? I want people to win. genuinely, because if I could do it from my start, then anybody could fucking do it. And that's the thing. It's like, if you look at my past, where I came from, some of the shit that I went through in life, you're going to see so much accomplishment. And I'm not trying to boost myself. What I'm saying is, I didn't have people assisting me necessarily. I didn't come from a rich family. This shit was grind.
Yeah.
You know, my wife and I, when we started the detail business, I sold a car, bought supplies. So we were down to one car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, we did what we had to do and we made it work. I didn't look back. I don't look back and say,
you didn't have a plan B. The only people that lose have plan Bs.
well, that's it.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I'm not trying to make this about me. I want it to be about you.
Good.
But the thing is that's what you're talking about is exactly what I've gone through in life. And that's what, in order for you to succeed, you have to strive for fucking success.
Right.
That's it.
And
you
not
strive
worry about
for
if
success.
it's gonna, and not worry if it's gonna work out.
Yeah. Well, overthinking just leads to second guessing, leads to procrastination, which leads to failure.
Right. Yeah. Well, and when you were talking about, you know, I'm a doer. I want people to win. All those. I'm like, they come in a package.
Yep.
Like if you do something out of like the goodness of, I want to do this,
Yep.
and I've been at the bottom. You are not going to be the person to hate on someone winning. Like, go tell me someone who started from the bottom and is a hater on someone winning.
Yeah.
The only people who are hating on someone winning haven't started yet, or were gifted everything.
Absolutely. And facts.
Like
facts.
no one's gonna hate on you if you started from the bottom.
Hell no.
Like if you also started from the bottom, you know? And like, that's the other thing is everybody tries to figure everything out. I'm like, well, if you just start actually choosing to do the right thing, the other things will come with it.
Yeah.
Like they come together, you know, once you start aligning yourself with goodness and stuff, watch the blessings hop in.
Absolutely.
Like, you got to be doing things for the right reasons though. And I think in today's age,
that's a key word.
Which one?
Doing things for the right reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. And my reasons might look different than yours, but at
that's
the end of the
it.
day, but yeah, and oh shoot,
Sorry about
no,
that.
you're good. I remembered. In today's age, there's so many options for success. Like we live in a day and age where there's a lot of darkness, but opportunity is rampant.
Yeah,
like you can literally go on the internet and just sell the shoes for $10 more than you bought them for, and make $10. You know? And you could do that 100 times, and there's $1,000.
Well, and that's the thing is there's so much darkness right here, but that's opportunity. Yeah. That's so much opportunity to learn from and really analyze yourself and really focus on what's important.
Yeah.
I mean, that's you can look at and I've said this in a bunch of podcasts. I don't look up to celebrities or athletes at all. No. I don't think that those people are anything to be praising.
Yep.
Because they play pretend. They play games. They play pretend.
One thing they're really good at. You have no idea their psychology. You know, I mean, just because you were raised, like, if you are like a younger person and you were raised in sports and whatnot, I mean, the chances of you, if your family came from a high athletic background, the chances of you having a high background is huge, and that's the importance of like how time works. Yeah, like 15, 20 years to be a professional athlete. Yep. You know, and that's what people don't want to start something new also. Yeah. And then they worry about like, is this for me? I know that I have struggled in the past with like, should I do this? Is this for my calling? Like, does it fit me? And at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to do the pros and cons of something. Does it fit more pros? There's always going to be cons. Yep. And then if I make a promise to myself, like you said, one of the things that I had a problem was I would break promises to myself when I was younger. And so as I got older, I realized, okay, like I will attack something, but if I'm going to attack it, like I'm not stopping. Yeah. So I would take a little longer to make that decision based on a career choice or like, when I switched into software engineering, for example, I was like, hey, if I start this, like I am, no matter how I feel. And I think like that's an important skill set to create too. Like if you get that out on the table with yourself and you know, you can be honest and be like, look, like I am not stopping this no matter what. Yeah. Then you know, during those days, because there are going to be those days where you just like, dude, I don't feel like doing this at all. Yeah. And you're frustrated, like super mad. You got to go cool down, do something and nothing. And then you just, but you never have the thought I'm quitting. Yeah. because you made a promise to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that powerlifting was a thing, and fitness was helped me cultivate that. But there's got to be something that you do to help learn that skill and create that skill. And, you know, the easiest way to do that is to find something that you are passionate about. But passion doesn't always follow success necessarily for like your season.
Yeah.
You might be doing something that maybe you're not passionate about that turns into a blessing. Everybody it's all based. That's why intuition and taking time to sit down with yourself is so critical.
Oh, absolutely. And the good thing about what you just said is if you can find something that you're passionate about, you can also turn that feeling, that energy that you have for this thing and put it on this thing that you're not so passionate about. And you can learn to be passionate here. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. I think that's I try and that's very true. That's try and put it into words for people to understand oftentimes, because it's like, oh, I can't do this. I'm not, you know, but if you can be passionate about anything, no matter what it is over here, learn to take that into your mind and apply it to here. And then you can learn to be passionate with this thing that you don't like. Yeah. I mean, it's just a matter of just learning how to make things work. It's called adaptability.
That and create a big enough why behind it.
Yeah,
you know, absolutely. Like if you create a big enough why behind it, then whatever that is for anybody, then, you know, discipline follows.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? And I think like, you know, practice creates or motivation creates discipline. You know, I mean, everybody pretty much knows that. Motivation's been the word thrown around forever. I honestly don't like that word.
Really?
No, because it's such a weak word. Motivation is like, I just don't like it because like everybody, I think the reason I don't like it is because the world places way too much emphasis on it. Yeah. And it does nothing besides light a flame. Yeah. It's it. And lighting a flame is important. It's critical. You got to get started. But like big picture, it doesn't help you accomplish anything after that. Yeah. Right? I mean, in my opinion, you know, discipline is really like. I
was just going to say discipline's the word.
Discipline's the word. I mean, I go to the gym. I only go to the gym 4 days out of the week, but, you know, I have a very structured also at home stuff that I do, but I don't always, I mean, you'll hear this from obviously every lifter who's been lifting for a while, but I don't always like going or feel like it, but I think the more you can take emotions out of things you know are good for you, the less you have those feelings of I don't want to do things. Yeah. But to be able to take emotions out of stuff is very hard. Yeah. And I wouldn't say take out all the emotions as in like feel good too, but you know, learn to understand like if you don't want to do something, that's in my opinion still a choice of thinking. And it takes practice to even get past that. And I think a big thing too is, you know, it's a cliche, but you have kids and stuff over countries hiking with rocks on their backs and doing all that. And you're like, well, everything's relevant. I'm like, but it's not. Yeah. I'm so sick and tired of people saying, well, that's not relevant. And I'm like, but it is. Because at the end of the day, humility and things could be worse. Yeah, it's thrown around, but it's so true. Yeah. And the only people who say, well, it's not relevant and I can't relate. Well, when something bad happens to you, life will wake you up. Oh, yeah. You will then say it's relevant. Yeah. And
well, it's the American society right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and anybody who says like, I can't put myself in those shoes, I'm like, well, you should practice. Yeah. Because we're not on this earth to fulfill our selfish desires, in my opinion, fully. Like, yeah, we're here to have a calling and we're here to do big things, but we're also here to teach each other and help each other. And it's both, right? It's
learn both. To love each other.
Exactly. It's a self, like you have your own walk. Yeah. But that walk, you should want that walk to be as fulfilling and leave a legacy as best possible. Yeah. And in order to do that, you got to unbury all your trash, clean up that, and then that way you can be the cleanest version of yourself when you go out.
Yeah. Because you are affecting people. You're whether affecting you like it or not. Anybody and everybody you even walk past sometimes. I mean, I could feel energy off people just entering the room. Yeah. You know, and it could be it's a huge thing. I think one of the things that I try and pride myself on is being very approachable. Yeah. Like especially at the gym. Yeah. You know, you get people that are new or uncomfortable or whatever. And I think that's part of what I try and give is to be somebody for somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. I mean, you definitely, you know, when I first met you, I was like, this guy's just there and happy. And I mean, it's hard to make me feel like uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I love feeling comfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you do. You do a good job. And this is tough though, because people might say, well, like, I thought you weren't supposed to care how people think. I thought you weren't supposed to care how people feel. And I'm like, you're not supposed to care how people think when it relates to you.
Yeah.
Like, as far as like their judgments of you. But you should care how you are representing yourself for your own standards and what you believe in. There is a big difference there.
Absolutely.
So that's that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I think that might be hard for some to kind of correlate, but at the end of the day, I think being the best version of you, I'll be completely honest, I don't believe you can be the best version of you unless you know the quote or the pictures of like, my vision of myself is my house, and then you see God's plans, and it's a huge, and I 100,000% believe that. Like, you cannot fully become who you were called to be unless you move on to something higher than yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the love force. I really do. I think that when it comes down to it, genuine empathy, care, love for people.
Yeah.
But it starts here.
Yeah.
It absolutely starts within. You can't, and I talked to Mickey about this a couple of weeks ago. You can't truly give love to anybody, no matter what. You can act like you do.
Yeah, you can act like it.
But you can't truly give it if you don't have self-love, if you don't care about yourself. And that goes back to fitness and diet and all this other stuff. If you truly loved and cared about yourself, you would want the best version of yourself.
Right.
Whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be. No judgment on size or whatever. It's just you would strive for the best version of yourself.
Yeah. I mean, if you're... no matter the size, if you're working to be the healthiest version of yourself, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I would 100% agree. And it is really hard at times to, I think the other thing that I see too, that people have such a hard time with when it comes to like being depressed and sad, and we've all been depressed. I mean, depression's a real thing, but I do believe that if you focus just so much on always like self-talk, there's a time and place for self-talk.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's near as much as most people think. Go out and help people.
Yeah.
Like, if your career is not fulfilling, switch careers. And I know that might be easier said than not for some, but get a plan in action, because like, you cannot find fulfillment in this world without helping people.
Yeah.
And you are sad. Anybody will be sad. I would be sad if I wasn't doing something to help someone.
Yeah.
Like, as far as a career, or offering advice or whatever, like, we are not meant to like not help people.
Yeah.
And I see so many people in today's world that find fake confidence in, whether it's like, I gotta word this carefully.
The endorphin release, you mean?
Whether it's like through their flesh, like showing it here or there, and thinking that that's confident because you used to have a bad body, but that really doesn't. That's surface. It's all surface level.
Very superficial.
Very superficial. Or whether it's always like having to talk yourself out of certain thoughts. Like, yes, there's a time and place for that. And at the beginning, if you really struggle, like, that is a good tactic.
Yeah.
But eventually what happens is, like, if you go study like tribes and you go look at like other like people, they don't struggle with depression. Why?
Yeah.
Because they're always helping each other.
Yeah.
They're always working. They're always moving. They're always, and don't blanket that statement as like, you know, nobody ever over the country suffers from doesn't like who's in those like, but the people that are like hard workers and helping each other, they ain't got time to be sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, people don't want to admit, they just say the same stuff like, oh, that doesn't apply. I'm like, but if you can start trying to tap into that selflessness, then you don't have to work so hard on yourself of just like,
because that is working on self.
And it really is, but it's taking the viewpoint off of you.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best way to get better at you is to not look at you.
Yeah. Well, and I completely agree. I think that so many people are self-absorbed.
Yes. That's a perfect word for it. That's a perfect word for it.
And that's what's leading to this instant gratification.
Yeah.
Because with the Instagram, with the TikTok, with the whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell it is, because they need that endorphin release, because it's like that's all they're thinking about itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say even for me at times it's, hard to put my phone down, or I catch myself looking at my phone, right?
Yeah.
But you come back to this, like, if you're not forced ever in your life, ever. That's why you hear of like people going to hiatuses and like going away. And why do we have it in movies? Why does Batman, The Dark Knight, like he goes off to find himself? Why do you have it like all over the place? Like, yes, movies, Hollywood, but there's a reason why they're in there.
Yeah.
Because like if you are never alone, like you never feel like you have nothing to lose. And I feel like that's where you have to get to.
Yeah.
Like when I have nothing to lose, then I can be honest with anybody in my life and not care how they like take it. Like, if I need to hold someone accountable in my life, if I need to give them the honest truth and they're trying to like beat around the bush, I'm like, no, you messed up, bro. Like, let's take it as it is. A lot of people, if they're never forced alone, never do that because they feel guilty because they're not holding themselves accountable. But when you're alone and you start to undig all that stuff, that's the only way you can start doing that with the people around you. And I think that's why you see it so much, is just because no one's been forced. It's so hard to do it. It's almost like you can't even blame people in today's world, because they don't, it's how else, unless you are forced, like life forces you to be alone, would you just be alone?
Yeah.
Like people have become so busy and not productive, right? And people have, it's so cliche now. How are you doing? Well, I'm fine. And like nobody understands the importance of changing that fine to choosing to say I'm great.
Yeah.
Like all these little things.
Yeah.
And it is unfortunate that sometimes like the only way to learn is through being forced, and some people don't get forced into it.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I think that's where you just have to you just got to have grace.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of the problem that people aren't forced into anything anymore is because we live in this victim mentality day and age. Everybody, no matter what, it could be sexism, racism, any ism that there is, they're victims of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They choose to, I mean, the government was giving out checks if you don't want to work. I mean, the society does not want you to be alone, like in a good way. Yeah. And that brings up a good point, is like, evil will take different forms and shapes, and sexism, racism, never going away. Let's like make that clear. Like it is never going to away. And one of the saying, this will be a interesting thing. The saying, it takes all of us. I don't believe that. I don't believe that it takes all of us to agree on the same, be passionate about the same way we feel about one thing to fix that one thing. I believe it takes every individual, like to do what we've been talking about. Yeah. And you find what you're passionate about, helping, solving. But just because this one person's super passionate about solving this issue doesn't mean I should feel obligated to go feel passionate about that issue also. Yeah. This is not the way it works. And people like trying to like force you to like, if you didn't do this, then you're the part of the problem. I'm like, no, dude, like what? Like, what about this issue I'm super passionate about? Are you the part of the problem then? You don't feel the same way? I mean, it's just... It's
very hypocritical, double standard. Yeah. Well, and I think that a big issue with a lot of the isms is don't make it a fucking issue and it won't be an issue.
Facts. Like nobody...
Quit fucking talking about it.
Majority of people are not sexist, are not racist. No. Like I said, evil will take shapes in different ways, and people who are bad people... will leverage
run with
sexism,
that shit.
Racism. That does not mean people are sexist or racist. It means evil is a real thing. Yeah. And I've had conversations and like people, they're like, well, I still don't get it. And I'm like, dude, like, if someone's mean to you, it's the same. This is a little bit of a stretch, but if I'm a white person and I'm talking to a black person and I choose to be, I use their skin color as a a opportunity to be mean, does that necessarily mean I'm racist? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
It could have meant I'm just being a douchebag and I used their skin color or something to get
because it was easy. Yeah, it was there.
Right. And same goes with a black person who talks about a white person and uses their skin color. Does that mean that black person doesn't have white friends? No, but he's probably just making some joke about my skin.
Well, and honestly, I think I wish we can go back to an age where laughter was the cure for things. Like, let's go back to where we can make racist jokes and sexist jokes, because laughter is that common factor that brings people together.
Yeah. Yeah, joy for sure. I mean, it's still like that. You know, it's funny is like, I think I was like the last generation of that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, and I have had friends of all races. Yeah. And, you know, it was never like thrown around, but I definitely grew up like with watching movies that if were shown today,
would be
like, would be like
no way
canceled like that, bro. I mean, now you got people apologizing in today's world and people bringing up stuff from 20 years ago and making people apologize for it. I'm like, dude, if you're perfect, then go throw that stone. Like,
right.
You're the perfect one.
Right.
You go throw that stone. Like nobody's ever said something racial or sexist or. Like,
and oftentimes their overcompensation is the racist is super fucking racist.
By you calling that out most of the time or whatever, and then like
making it an issue,
keeping it an issue.
Yeah,
that's the racist part.
Yeah,
you know, because then it's like, oh, now you want to
instigate
or enable this behavior and make another race feel this way just because. Yeah, it's a dark.
Well, and that's the problem. Is it? It's not going to end if it's always an issue. None of that shit, sexism, racism, whatever isms there are out there. It's like people just want to keep the fire going, and it's going to create this separation, and nobody can come together.
Well, and people act like it's going to go away,
right?
I'm like,
you're not going to make shit disappear. We're all fucking just.
No one's perfect.
Yeah.
If people were perfect, this stuff would end.
Yeah.
We're not perfect.
Yeah.
There's always going to be mean people out there.
Absolutely.
There's always going to be different colored people being mean to other colored people.
Yeah.
You can only do the best you can to be like just
the best version of yourself
to everybody around you.
Yeah.
Right. And if I don't go march down the road with you, I'm not the problem. I just also maybe didn't believe in certain aspects that you believe in.
Yeah.
That's that.
I feel that.
You know?
Absolutely.
And I think it's okay to not believe in. If anything, you should get to the point where you should want to know why they think differently.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be curious out of respect for the way you think, where you came to this conclusion.
Yeah.
Now, the tricky part is once they start getting, a lot of times, once people start getting deeper, I'm like, oh, so it stems from pain.
Yeah. Right.
So this stems from an insecurity. It doesn't stem from strength.
Yeah.
But you want me to believe in what you believe in, but it doesn't even come from truth.
Yeah.
And most people can't even have that conversation.
Yeah. They won't, because they're not going to analyze.
No. And it doesn't come from, I will never follow anybody who's making a decision off of a pain point.
Yeah.
Like a bad pain point.
Yeah.
Anger, like negativity.
Yeah.
And then you come in now to justify this way of thinking because it affected you this way. And you're one person, you're this big, you're this big in this spectrum.
Yeah.
And you have the audacity to think your way of thinking is way higher than everybody else's, that you can't give someone else the time of day.
Yeah.
Just because they think something that's black and white comparative to yours.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you are a devil worshiper. Tell me why you're a devil worshiper.
Yeah.
I'm safe in what I feel and am confident in.
Yeah.
It ain't going to hurt me to know why you believe this way. I mean, shoot, there's a ton of Christians out there that are pieces of shit.
Right.
Like, they...
Yeah.
Don't get me started on that,
facts,
Yeah. And that's the whole point is, like, you should want to get to the point where I have come to know what I believe in, but that's why I think traveling is so important. I want to know why people have gotten to where they believe in.
Yeah.
But, like, if you are mad, like, because we disagree, why would I even care to believe what you believe in if your belief system lets you get that mad at an opposing viewpoint?
Yeah.
That doesn't say I want to believe in what you believe in.
Yeah.
That says I don't want anything to do with what you believe in.
You're not a safe person.
That's not peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And if your belief system doesn't, at the end of the day, bring you peace, or it's veil. That's the thing about veils, man. You don't know if you have them a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why it's so important that I stopped posting like super political, super religious stuff, because I still post face stuff all the time, but like political, because at the end of the day, like I do want people to come to my side.
Yeah.
If they're not, right? And not like in a cultish way.
No. I know what you're saying.
I do believe in what I believe in.
To some degree, it was driving a wedge.
Yeah.
Right.
It always is. You ain't gonna change anybody's mind on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna
fuel the fire, if anything.
Yeah.
Possibly.
And I am always.
Yeah.
I mean, always. The people who follow me usually most of the time agree with aspects of what I believe in.
Yeah.
So if anybody who I want, if I'm trying to influence someone into a way of thinking, and I post a negative viewpoint on Instagram that's kind of arrogant, they're gone.
Yeah.
And that I want to bring people together. Yeah. Right. And so like that's one thing I've definitely had to let my ego go, because
sometimes it's trimming the fat's the important part, though.
That too. Well, hey,
not in a bad way. No, I don't mean that in a bad way, but you know because it's going to hurt you also, to some degree. Well,
if I don't know them,
yeah.
I've had people cut me off that I thought we were super close and stuff in the past, and you just get to a point where you have no expectations, right? Like, first you create expectations very, 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 very small amount of people, but there's always, you're never gonna make everybody happy. Yeah, and I don't try to cater.
Why should you try?
Right, I don't cater to that. However, there are certain things that just don't need to be said on social media. Yeah. And then there are things that are going to be tough truths that I'll still say, but they're not coming from, it all stems from like, where is it coming from in my heart? Yeah. I'm sorry, Mike.
That's all good, man.
I think this is my alarm. My eat alarm.
Oh shit.
But yeah, so if you can't analyze like, oh, I said this because I was frustrated, don't post it. Yeah. If this is a hard truth, but I love this and it's helped me a ton, post it. Yeah. That's a simple step, but it is a hard step.
It is.
Like everything is simple.
People get emotional about shit and they want to
put it out.
Yeah. I mean, and we've had that lesson on this show. You know what I mean? Where we've talked about topics that really, really fucking, got under people's skin. And it's like, it is what it is sometimes. I mean, sometimes the truth hurts. Yeah. If you personalize it in any type of way and I mean, analyze yourself. Why? Like we talked about this whole goddamn podcast.
Like you and me aren't here to try and hurt anybody.
No, absolutely not.
Like absolutely not. And that's the thing is like people forget.
Discussion is important.
They forget that like we're talking out of our own experiences. Yeah. And if anybody who watches this feels offended by something, just know like, hey, like, I don't care too much if maybe it did hurt your feelings, because those weren't my intentions. Yeah. But if it did hurt your feelings, that's for you to dig up. Yeah. Because how you take things, like you're saying, is all based on experiences and what you've been shown in your life.
Your interpretation. And I say this to everybody, if I've offended you, come on. Yeah. Come on the show. Let's discuss it. Let's have an open discussion about your perspective.
Yeah, for sure. And because then you could talk about the same stuff and they wouldn't get offended because you're face to face.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So it's like,
because they would have to answer for themselves.
Yeah. But they know it's a safe space. And I'm like, but it's still a safe space when you're watching. Yeah. It's like, just because I'm across the screen and this is what I was talking about earlier, it irritates your spirit. Yeah. And you have to decide, is it irritating it because I'm broken in this area, or I'm hurt in this area, or is it irritating it because like I genuinely don't, that's not for me. Yeah. 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 And those are two distinct things that like, if you can just, we overcomplicate things in this world, like way too much. And if you can just simplify it down to like, oh, that's an emotion that I know is unhealthy and takes practice.
And I need healed.
I need to work on that. Then, okay, cool. I don't need to feel defensive over that then. Yeah. But like, there's so many hard pain points in people that like I've talked to a lot of people that like, I don't want to unbury that. And I'm like, man, there's freedom on the other side though. Yeah. Like there's freedom on that other side if you can just slowly uncover that and just work on that, because like the turmoil, people get used to turmoil and pain. Yeah. Get comfortable in your pain. Yeah. And And then you don't know you're comfortable in that pain until you're around someone who is comfortable without pain. It feels like they might be attacking you and they're not even talking to you.
Yeah.
Because there's a sense of peace. Like it stems from people will hate you for no reason just because you're alive.
Yeah.
It's because they're dealing with a certain pain point that you're not, and you're able to speak on it freely, and it bothers them. Yeah. Because they haven't uncovered it yet. They haven't
gotten there. Yeah.
And because of that, you don't like them.
Yeah.
You know,
for whatever.
I have people that I realize that feelings come up with. I'm like, I just don't like this mother, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, but I don't genuinely not like them. There's just things that I haven't released myself either. Yeah. Like, I am not a saint. I have a lot of issues.
Yeah.
But I try to be aware to them as possible.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and have you ever heard of Johari's window? It's a concept that says there's this, it's like a box, right? Mm-hmm. You have the view, the person that you see, you and I, you can see me.
Yeah.
There's people could see versions of me that I don't know they could see. Mm-hmm. There's versions of me that I allow people to see. Yep. There's versions of me. And essentially that's Johari's box. And that's kind of everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody has that about them that other people see aspects of me that I don't even know exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or other people don't see aspects of me that I don't want them to see. And then it has other, there's about 5-6 other different things
that they
in
don't
there.
Deserve to see yet. Too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that people are so complex, but that doesn't mean you have to be complex within yourself.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. But it's easier to stay complex.
Yeah, it is, because you don't want to.
There's too many routes. Well, there's too long of a path to get there. So you created them.
Yeah.
And it takes time to straighten it out. Like
it does.
It's the same. Like, you can literally apply this stuff to everything, whether that's creating new neurons in your brain to make things easier. Like in coding, for example, it's a lot like the way a brain works. Like if you have an algorithm or something that is made, you're always trying to make it more optimal. You're trying to make a shortest path, the fastest way that it can run smoothly. Same way with your brain. When you're learning a skill set, you're making neurons for it. And then eventually when you get good at it, you have a lot of neurons. But now the neurons got to be more efficient. So then you start to re-efficient. And actually neuroplasticity is what it's called. Mm-hmm. Wasn't even thought to be a real thing, I think, till like the early 2000s. Mm. And but now they know, like with depression and all these things, it's all about creating new neurons and neuroplasticity and then making it more efficient. Mm-hmm. And it comes down to figuring yourself out. You just got to want it.
Yeah.
You just got to start wanting it. And most people, I don't know how. I'm like, you just got to start wanting to actually be okay with and I don't like the term necessarily demons.
Yeah.
We have demons. No, it's not like, because I don't,
Yeah,
like,
no,
whatever.
It's all good.
But it's more
it's a negative. It's a negative thing that, and as soon as
it's like you got to live with your demons. I'm like, no, you can kill those things.
Yeah,
you can get them out of there.
It's anytime you attach a negative aspect to yourself. Like I used to be an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic if I drink, right? Mm-hmm. I can't drink, so I don't drink.
Gotcha.
But if I put that label on myself, that's a fucking negative fucking, you know what I mean? I'm not hanging on to that shit. I'm not an alcoholic unless I drink.
You're not a permanently recovering alcoholic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that you don't do that.
If I drink, I break out in alcoholism. I'm allergic to the shit, so I just don't do it.
Yeah.
So
some people cannot get away with certain things.
Well, that's it. It's just in my DNA. I just can't fucking do it. So I don't. I don't. But it took me a long time to learn that.
Be okay with it.
But I've never put that label on myself.
Yeah.
Because it's a negative. Yeah. Why would I want to hang on to that 100%.
Shit? and it's the little things like that, though. It's not a little thing, but the little things, the simple things make the biggest difference.
Absolutely.
How you perceive yourself. And it just has to start small. And I think the other thing that is, it's like, when you talk about instant gratification is people, I've learned this a lot, like working with people as far as with fitness and stuff. If you've never been good at something, you're literally basing your success off of maybe like your coach or something like that, right? And so that comes with self-talk too, and like and practicing these things. If you've never been good at admitting to your own issues and stuff, you're not going to feel like you accomplished anything just by doing it a couple times. Mm-hmm. And that's the hardest part. Is it's just like life, I swear, is like the same in like almost so many in all avenues. you got it, whether it's the gym, you got to go for the first 3 weeks to get that, like, I don't want to go feeling out. And then the muscles start growing 2 months, 3 months later. And then you got other new things. Yeah. Right. I would say there's a new level. There's a demon at a door, right? Yeah. I would say there's always a different demon at a door, a devil at a door waiting for you that you're going to have to, but he's not in you. Right. Yeah. But, it's the same thing with like self-development. Like, you are not going to get much out of it just by trying it a couple times. Yeah. And that's
going
not gonna,
through the motions.
That's not going to do anything, right? And you have to. That's the skill set. You're going to make a promise to yourself. Hey, for me, that's what it was. No plan B. I'm going to do this. I'm not quitting. Period. Mm-hmm. If that's you with self development, journaling to yourself, you got to do to get different outcomes. You got to do different things. Yeah, you can't. It's insanity. Is the definition is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. Yeah. So. Apply it.
Apply it. Absolutely.
You just got to start. Like you said, with everything that you've done in your life and stuff, is I just started. Yeah. And then you just do.
You just do.
And you really have to. It's really hard sometimes to be super, super aware. This is what I'm currently working on. Is just being super aware of, like, am I starting to feel insecure in this area? Am I acting in a different way? Or because when you are alone, there's pros and cons to being alone. Yeah. Don't let me make like. Being alone is like always a wonderful thing. Yeah. Everything that we've talked here has a time and place and a purpose. But being alone can also easy to feel like you need to fit in with the wrong crowd. Yeah. Like if you only have a certain type of community, like the only places you can go is not a healthy community. Like when you are around people, or maybe it's not a bad community, it's just people, but they're not for you. Yeah. Your light can get dulled a little bit just because you get lonely. Yeah. So you start to blend. Birds of a feather flock together. Yep. Right? So you just have to be aware. Like I said, like you might be good with working on yourself, but if you don't have, like, I don't drive right now. Like I've had my license suspended since like I was 26, right? Okay. And so that's been something I've been working on. Yeah. Is making sure that, just because there's people around me doesn't mean they're my people. Yeah. And not everybody deserves to see the best version, like like everything I have to offer. Yeah. Right. And that's just a universal truth. It has nothing to do with me. Yeah. And so that's something I'm working on because that's just that's what I believe in, And so, yeah.
Yeah. This is good, man. Yeah. we hit a lot of stuff. Yeah. Where are we at right now? We're at an hour 15. Okay. So.
I mean, unless there's anything else specific, we've talked a lot about.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to have you back on. Let's schedule that. Yeah. So how can people reach you?
You can reach me through Instagram. My handle is trevor.ryan100. You can reach me through my phone number or on really just Instagram. It's only social. I don't have a Facebook. I got rid of that.
Well, if you want to give your number, you can. You don't have to give your number because you might get flooded with.
Yeah, you just hit me on Instagram. Okay. So on that handle. Yeah. And then hit me in my DMs. Cool. Or but yeah, that's it, man.
That was good, bro. Thank you.
No, thank you, man.
I appreciate you. Yeah.